Good, everybody. Welcome into Early Edge Live. This is your daily sports betting brand of record. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it is not close. Week 6, it has arrived. Bye weeks, they have arrived. We have 8 early games at 1 o'clock Eastern time today. We have 2 at 4:05, and then, of course, potentially the game of the year until 8:20 Eastern tonight. Bills and Chiefs, and of course Sunday Night Football. We got a live show for that at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. The Cowboys 4-1 and Philadelphia 5-0. Now we got a lot to get to, and we only got less than 60 minutes to do it. So let's bring in the stars of the show, because you know how we do it here at the Early Edge. We come for you. So first and foremost, live from parts unknown, and we are thrilled to have him on our team. We call him Prop Stars. You can call him Alex. Good afternoon, sir.
Good to see you, Coach. Good to see you, Cousin Sia. Larry, we've been seeing each other quite a bit. We've been posted up in the club for the past week together. It's been a blast. It's been a blur. I can barely even remember what's happened in the club, but yeah, hopefully someone else can get in there and join Maestro and I.
John in the chat says, "What's good, Coach?" Well, I'll tell you what's not good. It's the fact that I have to hear that every single show until one of us gets into the club. Now, I guess I got to reverse fortune because we got to get it out of the way. He's the maestro. Yes, you're in. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to see you after seeing you just an hour ago. So let's get to it.
All right. Now, he's a man that made it into the club 3 times a year ago, and he's the best-looking man in all the Early Edge universe. He is Sia Najad. Sia, good afternoon.
Yeah, I was a Curtis Samuel catch away from making it into the club. I mean, it was an easy catch. Wentz actually threw it on him on Monday Night Football or whatever it was, Thursday Night Football. He didn't catch it, but I am looking forward, Coach, to this game of the year that you talked about. Obviously, you're talking about the best quarterback in the business facing off against Kyler Murray. Of course, I'm talking about Geno Smith. That is going to be a great game. I very much look forward to it.
I thought you were going to say facing off against Patrick Mahomes just to take a shot at him, but that was a good one, too. All right, we got a lot to get to. 8 early games, 3 late ones, so let's get right to it. 49ers and the Falcons. Now, gentlemen, this is an interesting one because San Francisco stayed on the East Coast. They played Carolina last week. Thank you, schedule makers. And they play Atlanta this week. They're laying 4. The total sits at 45.5. Here's where we stand as a brand. Mikey is on the 49ers when it was 5.5, and it has come down. Now, Larry, you gave out a pick earlier today. I'd love for you to give that out to the people watching now.
Yeah, I still love the Jeff Wilson prop over 7.5 receiving yards because the Falcons give up a ton to running backs. Fournette had 10 catches last week, and Wilson has gone over this in 4 out of 5 games. And I do think it'll be more high scoring than people expect. But Bosa isn't playing. He's been the number 1 pass rusher in all of football. That makes 6 defensive starters out for the Niners. The backups are pretty good, but you lose Mosley, you lose Bosa, you lose the other guys, Kinlaw, and et cetera up front. I still might pull the trigger on the Niners because I think Jimmy G is going to have a massive game, and the running game should do well, but haven't done it just yet.
Well, when you look at how they have played this year, they haven't really started playing until the 4th quarter. So the 49ers don't allow that. I don't know what you're waiting for. I played it 2 hours ago. Come in. The water's warm. Now, last week, I gave out that same Jeff Wilson pick and the catch because he hadn't done anything. Then, of course, he comes out and has a good night. So I love that play today for him to do it 2 times in a row. But, Alex, when you look at your play for this game, it's very what we like to call correlated with the maestro. Talk to me.
Yeah, I have another play on Jeff Wilson that I like quite a bit. That's Jeff Wilson's longest rush over 15.5 yards. Wilson has eclipsed this in 4 straight games. That is every single game since he has taken over as the starting running back in this 49ers backfield since Elijah Mitchell went down via injury. He's had at least a 30-yard rush in 3 straight games as well. He's the running back 7 overall in rushing yards over expected per attempt. He's the running back 5 in breakaway percentage. He's been showing a ton of big playability and upside this year as well. Facing an Atlanta defense that's 27th in rushing DVOA. Jeff Wilson, he just looks so efficient and comfortable in this Kyle Shanahan offense. This is a great spot for him in a game that he should flirt with 15 to 18 rushing attempts versus a well below average Falcons rushing defense. That's why I love him over 15.5 yards for his longest rush.
And I fully expect to see a text in the chat about, 108, 109. Catch that, Jeff Wilson. Longest rush. Now, see, when we look at this game, and I tell you that there are 2 unbeaten teams left in the NFL. Philadelphia on the field, Falcons against the spread. Is there any way in your mind Falcons can cover the spread today?
Yeah, and Maestro really spelled out why. Listen, you can't lose half of your defense and just assume the 49ers are going to be the 49ers. That's why this line has gone down from 5.5 to 4. I wouldn't touch this line. I think the Falcons are a very scrappy team, personally. I get why anybody would want to be on the Niners, especially now that the number is down to 4. But for me, it's a stay away. It's one of those situations where the 49ers, again, they didn't travel back to the West Coast. They stayed at the, I believe it's called the Greenbrier over in West Virginia. They often do that when they have back-to-back East Coast games. So the travel isn't really a concern for me, but I wonder about Jimmy Garoppolo in this particular spot with a scrappy Falcons team. It's the line. If the line was 3, I would love it. At 4, it's just a stay away for me. And
it's exactly why I did what we like to call the severance. I played the money line at minus 170, minus 175. That's what I call playing the severance. All right, now next game. Meister, you didn't get that one? No laugh from you on that?
I did get it. I did.
He's like, no, I'm not going in there. That's okay. That's okay. I'll do it myself. All right, Patriots and the Browns. This is another interesting one. I'm calling week 6, gentlemen, this week. The rubber meets the road. We're going to start to see separation. Patriots looked, dare I say it, yes, the D word, dominant last week. Now they go on the road. Rookie, Zappy. Ball control, just like Cooper Rush in Dallas. I thought he looked very much the same. Now, the Browns are favored by 2.5, total at 43. M-squared is on the Browns' money line, minus 145. And then, Maestro, you love another play in this on a guy that you've been cashing tickets with all season. Who is it?
Yeah, it's Nick Chubb. I'm going to stay away from the side here. I don't think either team can stop the run. The Patriots give up the second most explosive runs in football. That is not a good recipe against Nick Chubb, who has had a 22-yard or longer rush in 10 straight games. Going back to last season, this number ticked up from 18.5 to 19.5. Although if you want to play it at 18.5 minus 150, you could still get it on MGM. I don't think that juice is worth it. I'd be curious what Alex thinks. I'll play it at 19.5 at minus 115.
Alex, thoughts?
I'd much rather take the 19.5 here, especially when we're dealing with Nick Chubb, when he's going to see close to 20 rushing attempts in this game. So, yeah, when we're dealing with Nick Chubb, he's going over 20, very likely. So, much prefer the 19.5.
All right, very good. By the way, I hate to backtrack, but we do have a chat question. By the way, if you have any chat prop questions or anything, put them in there. AB's in the chat as well as producing. We got everybody working today. But I'm going to come back to you, Sia. The number on Jimmy Garoppolo apparently is 229.5 minus 115. Your thoughts there?
Not super interested in that. I would take the under, if anything.
Okay, very good. That's how you give a very concise take. Thank you, Sia. All right, game number 3, because we got a lot to get to. This one is also one I'm very much looking forward to, and this is the Jets, and I want everybody talking on this one. Jets getting 7.5 in Green Bay. Packers gave up a win against the Giants overseas. Now, the total sitting at 45.5 as a brand. Here's where we stand. Uncle Dave is on Aaron Jones over 59.5 rushing yards, minus 117. Then we've got 2 plays from Maestro and from Alex. So, Alex, let me start with you. What do you got?
Sure. Just real quick, I wanted to give a shout out over my left shoulder here to Goose. Goose coming off of his last Goose Parlay victory. We're going to cook up another one tonight. He's already prepping behind me, as you can tell. So shout out Goose. We're going to hit another Goose Parlay tonight, Coach. And I am going Zach Wilson under 218.5 passing yards. I can explain why I love fading Zach Wilson in this spot. He's been held under this in 11 of 15 career starts. He's only averaged 186 passing yards per game since entering the NFL, facing a Packers defense that are 11th in passing DVOA compared to 30th in rushing DVOA. Green Bay's opponents are finding it much easier to attack them on the ground. Furthermore, the Packers are only surrendering 177 passing yards per game. Only Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins have thrown for over 218 passing yards against this Green Bay defense this season. The Packers are the biggest run funnel in the NFL this year. The Jets also have one excellent running back and one other very good running back in Breece Hall, in Michael Carter. We're going to see a heavy dose of both of those backs, in my opinion. Just going to try to protect Zach Wilson as much as possible. I also expect Green Bay on the other side of things to run the ball quite a bit as well, which should both keep this clock running, keep this game competitive as well, and just limit Zach Wilson's throwing volume. That's why I love fading him under 218.5 passing yards. I'd play it down to about 212 yards.
And if that is the game script, then Maestro, your play should also benefit from a shortened game. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm going with A.J. Dillon under 65.5 combined rushing receiving just because the split in the backfield got out of whack last week. It was pretty even the first 4 weeks, but then last week, 46 for Aaron Jones, only 20 snaps for A.J. Dillon, who's been much less efficient, averaging 3.9 yards a carry. Now, this prop could go to hell if the Packers get up big and they just want to, run out the clock. But the Jets' run defense has been solid. So I like A.J. Dillon to just not get enough touches to go over this number.
I played this when I saw this on the list earlier today because I knew it was going to go down. And see, when we look at this game, and somehow the Jets miraculously are above 500, and they have looked, dare I say it, at times like the better team. When you go into a place like Lambeau today, how much do you think that's going to affect Zach Wilson?
I think it's going to affect him, but to Alex's point, I really think the running game is where the Jets win and or cover this game. So I don't think they're going to win necessarily, but this isn't the Packers that we are familiar with seeing. I think the Jets have a really good shot to cover here, especially with the running game, Packers allowing over 5 yards per carry. You do have an emerging Breece Hall who is like a legit talent. And frankly, Zach Wilson has a host of receivers, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Tyler Conklin, if you want to throw him in there. I think the Jets are going to hang tough. So to answer your initial question, yeah, I think it's going to be like a little bit of a rough going for Zach Wilson in terms of going to Lambeau, but I'm not sure it matters because I don't think the game plan is going to be focused on Zach Wilson. And oh, by the way, in fantasy, in DFS, there were some really popular running backs this week. Ramondre Stevenson, Ken Walker, Eno Benjamin, Darrell Henderson. All of those guys have a ton of ownership percentage. Breece Hall is below all of those guys. So that's an interesting contrarian play. Aaron Jones is another very interesting contrarian play because of his price. So something to keep in mind for DFS in this game specifically.
So much right there. Educate and entertain. See ya. Thank you very much. Maestro, let me come back to you. Chat question. Kirk over 70 yards. I know you gave him at 60.5 earlier today. Perhaps that is an alternate line. Would you like him up to 70?
I mean, not unless you're getting serious plus odds. That's kind of a big number for a low scoring game. So I wouldn't go much higher than like 61, 62.
Okay, very good. Go ahead and put that juice in there for me in the chat, too. It really helps my guys because the juice matters. Can't play something minus 250. At least most of us can't. All right, next game. Jags and the Colts. Colts are laying 1.5. This has written all over. It really, really does. Total sitting at 41. Again, look. Now, AB is on Matt Ryan to throw at least one interception. That's usually good. AB is on Trevor Lawrence to throw at least one interception. That's usually pretty good. And then, Larry, back up the pick we just talked about from the chat. You gave out, why do you like Christian Kirk today at 60.5?
Well, he's the number one guy. They paid him huge money, and he was the featured guy the first 4 weeks, and somehow they got away from him last week, and they have talked all week that we have to get the ball to Christian Kirk, and Marvin Jones is out for this game. He is number 2 in receiving yards. You're talking about Kirk and Zay Jones. Those are the main targets. And, he had 6 catches on 6 targets for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns against this Colts defense in the first matchup. I just think they're going to feature him a lot, especially on those slip screens or those quick crossers. And he could take 30, 40 yards. So I love Christian Kirk today. I just wouldn't go that high.
It just seems like a game you got to be very careful of. Very similar, see it, to what we saw on Thursday night where, and Alex did a great job of describing it, sometimes you got to stay away from these lines that you're hoping that they come in. This feels like another one of those games just like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for the record, I do love that. I do love that Christian Kirk play. I think the defensive back matchup is going to serve him well too, especially with the injuries that were mentioned. As far as the game is concerned, I actually had the Colts earlier in the week at minus 2.5. It's down to minus 1.5, probably because of key injuries, not just Jonathan Taylor, but on the defensive side of the ball. I do want to point out, though, I think it's a good spot for the Colts. I think the Colts are going to end up taking this game as well. I've always sort of thought the Jaguars were overrated. We're seeing that sort of play out. The Colts don't look good, but let's remember what they did against the Kansas City Chiefs just a couple of weeks ago. I think they're going to be ready in this spot to take the W.
I think that's a really, really good hunch. And I may play them now because of what you just said. Go ahead, Maestro.
I don't know if you trust DVOA or not, but the Colts are 32nd and the Jags are 7th, which is kind of striking when you look at this.
And Alex,
number.
For those people who are brand new, what does that mean, what Maestro just said?
It's just an advanced metric that just measures a variety of advanced statistics to kind of take a closer look at how an NFL team is performing, just kind of away from the raw numbers.
Right. The Gator Base 08 says Alec Pierce over 45.5 minus 110 is the play for the Colts. Alex, go.
I'd lean over there for sure. I've been very impressed with the rookie. He's looked very, very good. No Jonathan Taylor. I do think Matt Ryan's going to have to air it out a bit, and they have an exploitable matchup against this Jag secondary.
All right, very, very good. My guys are good today, on point, ready to go. Are you as hyped as I am? I hope so. We're cashing a lot of tickets so far. Now, game number 5. And Alex, I'm starting with you, but all three of you are talking. What's so funny, Maestro?
Well, I like what you said. We're cashing a lot of tickets so far. We're like 45 minutes away from kickoff. Well, I love that attitude.
Oh, okay. I got I feel good today. I had a lot of bad beats turn into wins late last night. Padres.
And I forgot that you're already cashing soccer. I forgot that.
I'm all over the soccer today. Buckets didn't want to give out any plays. I was happy to. Just cast Barcelona, Real Madrid. Come on. It's what I do. Soccer's not that hard. All right. All three of you are talking on this one. The Vikings laying the 3 in Miami. The Fighting Skylar Thompsons are going to be playing. Although Tua has been cleared, he'll play in their next game. Total 45. But the Vikings right now have tied for the second best record in the NFC. Some people think they're the second best team. Cowboys and Eagles might have something to say about that. But, Alex, when the Vikings play good, they usually have their great wide receiver doing work. What do you like today?
I love Justin Jefferson. In my opinion, this is the best wide receiver in the NFL, maybe the best football player in the NFL. I'm taking him over 86.5 receiving yards today. He has been phenomenal this year. He's averaging 11 targets, 8 receptions, 109 receiving yards per game. He has an elite 2.66 yards per route run. He's been extremely efficient as well, coupled with an elite target share. That's what we look for when we're looking for potential spike games. This looks like a potential spike game, in my opinion. This is an excellent matchup against the Dolphins defense. They rank 30th in EPA per dropback, 30th in coverage grade. They have really struggled to contain opposing passing games. Also, teams are choosing to attack the Dolphins through the air this season. And with Kevin O'Connell coaching this Vikings team, it's much different than when Mike Zimmer was, and they were much more conservative and ran the ball on first down over and over again. They're looking to attack, and they're being very aggressive. They're lining up Justin Jefferson all over the formation. They're extremely creative with how they deploy him. He's getting matched up against opposing linebackers and safeties. There are no cornerbacks in the NFL that can cover Justin Jefferson, much less linebackers and safety. So I love me some Justin Jefferson. I'd play this prop up to about 90.5 yards. So yeah, give me Justin Jefferson over 86.5 receiving yards today. Looks like a potential spike game for him.
I got it in this morning at 88.5, so I'm very happy with the number that I was able to get. Now, see the show on Friday that me and Alex and Uncle Dave showed up for. Uncle Dave had Kirk Cousins under 257.5, and it was a very interesting play because we had the Justin Jefferson. Like, how can that happen? How can both cash? And he had some pretty good numbers to say that JJ could be like 40 to 50% of the yards today. Would you like that play, those two plays together?
So I agree with the sentiment that you could have Justin Jefferson with like 140 yards and Kirk Cousins could still come under. The problem with that play for me would be if Skylar Thompson actually shows up. And I think it might be easy for him to do that in the sense of, well, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle. If this ends up being a back and forth, I think Cousins actually ends up hitting the over and he just ends up passing the ball a lot. I don't know that's how the game script is going to go. So I think for the Kirk Cousins under, I think I would just stay away from it. It's not like I don't like Dave's play. For me, it would be a stay away because I think with a 45-point total, you could have a back and forth here with this talented receiver core on the Miami side. I will say I love Justin Jefferson in this game, and I don't want to make this a DFS show, but this is a guy that's like 5% in DFS because he's 8,900 on DraftKings. Nobody wants to play him because there's so much value on this slate. He is a guy that can absolutely break the slate and get you off of some of these chalky plays. I think he's going to have over 100 yards today.
See, that's the last time. The last time you're going to apologize for doing something for DFS. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. People love that stuff. Don't apologize for it. Your information is top shelf. No more apologies for whatever you say. Got it?
Roger that. Roger that.
You're the man. You're the man. All right, now, Maestro, let me come to you. Because normally we don't like to give out money lines at minus 160, minus 170. But this game, just like the 49ers, feels like the money line should be the play. Because I don't see a scenario the Vikings lose. But I think if, as Sia said, Skylar Thompson plays pretty good, I don't want to worry about those 3 or 4 points. I just want to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't trust the Vikings to cover numbers on the road, and that's why we've seen this come from 3.5 down to 3. I mean, Justin Fields, and we saw what he was like on Thursday night, 12 out of 13 for 135 yards and a touchdown against the Vikings defense in the second half last week. So this is not a good defense. Skylar Thompson could have success with Mike McDaniel scripting all the plays. I think the main angle is what happened to that ping pong table in the locker room. You know, did the players get rid of it so they could focus on the Vikings? Or, as Tyreek Hill says, was it warped and they just wanted to custom order a new one and it's not distracting them at all?
Well, he said that because he knows he just played Call of Duty for 12 straight hours. So he has to cover his ass there. Alex, go.
2 things I wanted to hit on just very briefly. One, Skylar Thompson looked a lot better than I think a lot of people thought. I was actually pretty impressed by his performance in this game. In my opinion, he's certainly capable of moving the ball up and down against this Vikings defense that is below average, in my opinion. Furthermore, you can get Justin Jefferson to lead the week in receiving yards on both FanDuel and DraftKings at plus 900 yards. I think there's some value there. If you read my article, I broke down why, but I really like Justin Jefferson to potentially lead all wide receivers this week in receiving yards and get that at plus 900 odds.
Article. What article do you speak of, Alex?
An article that comes out exclusively for SportsLine subscribers, comes out either Thursday or Friday of every week. It includes 4 or 5 of my favorite props, including 1 or 2 long shots as well. If you're a SportsLine subscriber, you get access to it.
And how have those picks done this year so far, Alex?
Very well, Coach.
Very well, indeed. Now, if you're not a SportsLine member yet, and we are growing so fast, what are you doing? But I'm going to do you a solid. Use a promo code early. I'll give you 30 days for free. You can get Alex's articles. You can get seeing all of his DFS and betting stuff. You can get the Maestro. You can't get me yet. I don't have my own. They won't give me my own page. I don't know what it is. But we want you to come join us. Please be a part of the Early Edge family and the SportsLine family. No more $900 5% bombs of the week. All right, next game. Bengals and the Saints. Another rubber meets the road. Have the Saints found their quarterback in Andy Dalton? Now, have the Bengals gotten out of their slumber? Well, no, they lost late last week to the Ravens 19-17. Tough one. Now, Mikey earlier today said that Jamar Chase could be a spike game for him. He likes him over 78.5. He would play it all the way up to 86. RJ is on the Saints team total under 20.5. Interesting there. And then Uncle Dave is on Will Lutz to kick over 1.5 field goals at plus 100. See, let me start with you. As far as the Saints team total, they've been in some shootouts this year. They scored over 30 against the Seahawks. Do you like saying they can't score 21 against Cincinnati?
Yeah, I like it. I think this could be a relatively low scoring game. I mean, we see that with the total of 42.5, but the Bengals really, their defense, especially in the red zone, has been really solid. So I could absolutely see the Saints driving here and there, but the whole Taysom Hill trickery and him running it in, I think we're going to see regression there. So I think some of these drives could be stopped, leading to that team total coming under. But I'll tell you what, I think you might have mentioned Mike McClure talking about Jamar Chase. I do think this is a Jamar Chase game. T. Higgins is active, but I should say on the other side of the ball, Marshawn Lattimore is not active. And for the record, Chris Olave is not active. Michael Thomas is not active. The Saints have some injuries here. I think the Bengals are finding themselves in a pretty good spot. And I do think they'll check the Saints offense defensively. I think Kamara is likely to have a pretty good game. Outside of that, I don't see much from the Saints side.
Okay, but on the Bengals side, Alex, then Maestro, I'm coming to you. Other than Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd's at over 40.5. It's used to the over. That's really kind of all I'm seeing. Alvin Kamara, 4.5 catches. Do you see anything as far as props are concerned from this game that you like?
I love Jamar Chase in this spot. This was a play I was very close to giving out. I was waiting for the T. Higgins news to come out, whether he would be active or inactive. I also wanted to see if Marshawn Lattimore was playing in this game. I think we got a best case scenario here where Marshawn Lattimore is inactive. T. Higgins is going to be active. In my opinion, he's going to be used more as a decoy. Will probably be splitting snaps with the other Michael Thomas. That's the Cincinnati Michael Thomas. So I think this is a great spot for a potential spike game for Jamar Chase. Should get 12 to 15 targets in this game versus a decimated Saints secondary, which has given up a lot of spike games to opposing wide receivers, especially recently. So this is a great spot to back Jamar Chase, in my opinion.
Real quick, and I'm still coming to you, Larry. Scott in the chat, though, Chase longest reception over 26.5, minus 130, Alex.
Problem with that is they have been throwing the ball to Chase a lot closer to the line of scrimmage this year. They're sort of manufacturing him touches. He's not getting that deep A dot that we saw. T. Higgins actually has a deeper A dot than Jamar Chase this year. Jamar Chase, the reason he had all these spike games last year was because his A dot was so deep, and he also had an elite target share. However, this looks like the game where he could potentially have that blow up. So I lean over, but I prefer Mike's angle with attacking the yards here under 80. I think he's a great shot to go over.
Okay, very, very good. Now, Maestro, last week we were heavy on the Joe Mixon unders, and he had a spike game, and he looked fantastic. When I look at his numbers today, his combo number is 89.5, juiced at minus 123, and his rushing number is 64.5, minus 104. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm going to stay away from Mixon, but I do like the Bengals. There's definitely some late money and late info coming in on the Bengals. When you talk about no Olave, no Landry, no Thomas, no Lattimore, the weapons aren't there. We're talking about Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith as the top two wideouts. You have a Bengals team 11-2 against the number. The last 13 games, they lose to Baltimore, but they cover. And of course, Burrow and Chase coming back to LSU territory against a depleted secondary looks like a good spot for the Bengals.
I think it looks like a fantastic spot. It's inside. It's a fast track. When you have fast players, that's a good combination. Gentlemen, we've got two games left at 1 o'clock. And this one, I'm excited about. All three of you, I need you. Ravens laying 5.5 on the road at the New York Giants, the same New York Giants that have figured out a way. It's not always pretty. It's not always nice, but they're covering and they're winning football games. So they're going to get 5.5 at home. You know this joint is going to be jumping this afternoon with Lamar Jackson in the house. So AB is on the Ravens team total over 25.5. AB is also on Daniel Jones to throw at least one interception. So I want to start, Maestro, with you. Are we still not believing in the New York Giants?
The market is not believing. This line says that the Giants are a fraud. I mean, when you're 4-1 and you're at home and you're getting 5.5 against a team that will not have Rashad Bateman, the number one receiver, you're talking about trying to stop Lamar Jackson, which is impossible, and Mark Andrews. But beyond that, what kind of weapons are the Ravens bringing? So, yeah, I think the Giants continue to get undervalued. Daniel Jones, 16-7 against the number as a dog. He's the master of the backdoor cover. This year, he's winning games. But in general, this is a guy who, despite not having a lot of weapons, can bring you back when you're down 10 or double digits and get you that cover. So, yeah, I lean heavily towards the Giants.
And I am as well. And see it. All right, I'll come see you next. Go ahead, Alex.
Just two things I wanted to point out really quickly before I give my prop out in this game. With this Giants offense, I've been so impressed with the job that Brian Daboll has done. I think Daniel Jones has actually played really, really well. He's also getting some help back today in the form of Rondell Robinson. This is a rookie wide receiver. He's going to be playing in the slot for the Giants. Their wide receiver core was not talented coming into the season and then just been decimated via injury. So this is someone to pay very close attention to today. Could emerge potentially as the Giants' leading wide receiver. Rondell Robinson, the rookie, also have been impressed with Darius Slayton. I expect his role to continue to expand. And yeah, I just think these Giants aren't getting enough credit either. Daniel Jones has played very well. Obviously, it's all about Saquon. Saquon has been absolutely phenomenal. Love the guy. We've been backing him all season. But yeah, I've been impressed with this Giants team.
Well, go ahead and give out that prop right now. Go ahead.
My prop is on the other side of the field. It is going with J.K. Dobbins. Gave this out at 43.5 yards. It's now up over 50 yards. Dobbins, he's coming off arguably his best game since returning to the team from that significant knee injury. Tore everything, MCL, ACL. Looks to be close to 100% to me. He's getting the majority of the early down work in this Ravens backfield as well. He hasn't played much on third downs, but we don't need him to in order to cash this prop. He's actually been good, as I mentioned. He's the running back 23 in breakaway percentage, running back 20 in elusive rating. Considering he's coming off that serious injury, I've been impressed. Giants defense, they're 21st in rushing DVOA as well. They're surrendering the 9th most yards per game to opposing running backs on the ground this year. Larry mentioned no Rashad Bateman. That's the second week in the row. I think this Ravens team is going to deploy a run-heavy attack. Also, Ravens being significant favorites against the Giants, I expect a minimum of 10 to 12 rushing attempts for Dobbins. Should be more than enough to get us over this total at 50.5 or 51.5, where it's at now. Unfortunately, I would stay off of it there.
So my book has it at 48.5. What would you say to that?
I'd play it under 50. So, yeah, I'd maybe scale down to about a half unit at that number, though, Coach.
All right. Thank you very much. See, let me come to you because Daniel Jones, as Alex said, he's been playing really good football. And the one thing he's been doing is using his legs. Chat question, longest rush over 12.5. Also, his total, I'm looking at it right now, on the ground is 35.5. Your thoughts?
You're actually asking me a Daniel Jones rushing prop. Wow.
I am.
This chat and you, Coach, have not learned your lesson. I do like listen, for whatever it's worth, I do like Daniel Jones' longest rush over 12.5. I mean, I'm always a little worried about the gimpy ankle, but he obviously played through it last week, and it doesn't seem to be a concern right now. I think both Daniel Jones and Lamar Jackson are probably going to hit their rushing totals here. Both of them have been running very successfully, like the quarterbacks in particular. I do like this. The one thing I do want to point out, I don't normally look at coaching too much when I'm breaking down a game against the spread. But so we have Harbaugh on one side, and he's great, of course. But then we have Brian Daboll. But let's not forget, Wink Martindale was the defensive coordinator for those Baltimore Ravens from 2018 to 2021. I think that comes into play here. It's not like he can take out Lamar Jackson, but I think he is going to know a little bit more than other coaches what Lamar Jackson's tendencies are, whether that be pre-snap or post-snap. And I do think Lamar Jackson will have to lean on his legs and perhaps J.K. Dobbins, to Alex's point, a little bit more than usual. Maybe a little less on, let's say, Mark Andrews, for example.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, we have crossed the bottom of the hour a couple of minutes ago. For those of you just dipping in right now, I know you come and go. This is the Early Edge. Thanks for hanging out with us here on YouTube or on Apple or Spotify. In the next few weeks, we'll be having a brand new home. We're not leaving YouTube, but we're going to have a really nice home. Friendly confines. Really big. Now, speaking of big, the Bucs have a big spread to cover today. It's down to 9.5 in Pittsburgh. Kind of nice for the Steel City to get to see Tom Brady before he retires. Total sitting at 46. Now, whenever you're talking Tom Brady and you're talking offense, Alex, you got to talk about the big boy outside. Start us off. Let's go.
This is one of my favorite props of the week, Coach. Mike Evans, longest reception, over 24.5 yards. The Bucs have been extremely pass heavy since Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both returned to this lineup. 17% pass rate over expected the last 2 weeks. That number only trailed the Bills, who literally do not run the football. This bodes very well for Mike Evans. This is my favorite angle to attack in this matchup. Last week, the Bills against the Steelers defense were 20% pass rate over expected. That is more than any individual matchup this season. We're obviously getting to play that same Steelers defense again, which is very good. Steelers defense has been unable to generate any pressure, which is going to give Tom Brady a ton of time in the pocket to allow these routes to develop deep down the field for Mike Evans. Mike Evans has the deep A dot that I always look for, coupled with the elite target share. That is what we look for in spike games. This Pittsburgh team has been giving up so many big plays. We saw Gabe Davis have 3 catches for 150-plus yards last week against this defense. This defense is without their all-pro safety, Minka Fitzpatrick. They're also down their top 3 cornerbacks as well. This is just a great spot. Checks every single box for me. Mike Evans, over 24.5 yards, longest reception.
Obviously, the question is going to come in on his yardage, 70.5 minus 124. What would you tell them?
I'd lean over on it, but this is my favorite angle to attack, but definitely would lean over on it.
All right, very good. Maestro, let me come to you because Alex said something very, very interesting, that Tom Brady's going to have a lot of time. And if he has a lot of time and he can pick you apart, that means he completes passes. Talk to me.
Yeah, went over 25.5 completions. I mean, Alex talked about the pass rate has skyrocketed since the guys have come back, Evans and Godwin. We're talking about 52 passes, 42 passes. I know they were way behind in one of those games, but that completion number feels very low when you consider 31, 35, and 39 were his last 3 games of completions. We know he can dink and dunk with the best of them. He's very accurate. He hit Fournette 10 times last week. So I think with the Steelers not having the pass rush, I love this play.
Okay, very, very good. It's going to be a fun game to watch today. See how Kenny Pickett gets the job done. And when you look at the spread, Sia, he is a rookie, but he started playing a little bit better last week. Is this spread for a road team too high?
Probably not. I do like the Buccaneers. I do think this is a get-right spot for the entire Buccaneers team, but specifically Tom Brady. It's not something I'm going to bet the Buccaneers, but I mean, given that it's down to 9.5, I mean, if you wanted to do, I mean, traditionally people are doing 6-point teases, but you could do a 7-point tease and get it under the key number of 3. It's just a thought there, not something I'm actually going to do. I do think it's really notable, though, that on Tuesday, this line was 44 in terms of the total. Then it moved to 45. Then it moved to 46. Now it's 46.5. So again, from a DFS angle, you should probably be paying attention to this game a little bit because Tom Brady is a lot less expensive than some of those guys that you're going to be playing in that afternoon slate, namely Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, even Kyler Murray. So I think people should really be paying attention to both Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Tom Brady for sure.
And when Tom Brady either doesn't play well, is upset, or things aren't right, what does he normally do? He comes out and says, I'm going to dominate on the field. And we all know what's going on off the field. So expect him to be locked and loaded today in Pittsburgh and really want to play well and show the world that he could put all the distractions to the side. And I think he'll do that today. All right, so those are the 1 o'clock games. We have about 17 minutes left to get through the final 3. So we're in great shape. Now, there's 2 games at 4:05. Panthers and the Rams. Yes, they're actually going to play today. About 50 miles from where I'm sitting right now. There'll also be fans in the stands, too, from what I'm told. Rams are laying 10. The total 41.5. What are the Panthers' new head coach? What are they going to do with Christian McCaffrey? What about Baker Mayfield? So many questions on that side. But, gentlemen, on the other side, Cam Akers, a healthy scratch, personal issues, not really knowing what's going on. He won't play today. Matthew Stafford has been anything but a Super Bowl winning look-like quarterback. So, Alex, let's start with you because the only play as a brand that we have on this is RJ's Rams team total under 26.5. Is there anything from the prop world that piques your interest in this one?
There are quite a few props in this game that I'm interested in. One thing I wanted to point out when we're kind of looking at this Rams offense, what's gone wrong with it. One thing that I don't think is getting enough attention is this Rams offensive line last season was, according to Pro Football Focus, the number 1 offensive line when it comes to pass protection. This year, coach, they are 32nd. Does not get more of a steep drop off than that. Finished last season first. Now they are the worst pass blocking team in the NFL. So yeah, Matthew Stafford really having a hard time under pressure. However, this is a matchup I think they can do well. We're seeing Tyler Higbee and Cooper Kupp both questionable coming into the game. They're both going to play, however it appears. So I do like Darrell Henderson in this game. He should get the majority of the running back touches. I do think they can establish the run a little bit against the Carolina front. That hasn't been great. Then on the other side, I have been looking at Christian McCaffrey quite a bit. I think this is a matchup where he can get a ton of volume. PJ Walker starting at quarterback for the Panthers. When he played, he was very comfortable checking down to McCaffrey quite a bit. So I expect potentially 7 to 8 targets for McCaffrey and then 15 plus rushing attempts. I personally like his combo line quite a bit. You can get that around 102 to 103.5 total yards. So that's where I'm looking in this game and my favorite angles to attack.
All right, very good. I got to put a little quick pin in it because my man Big Cheesy. All right, I'll ask it. You've asked me enough. Gage over 35.5 receiving yards. Sia, take this one, please.
It's a no for me. I mean, it's a little too high for Gage. He could obviously get there, but give me Godwin props in this one. Give me Mike Evans props in this one. I don't think I want to flirt with the third receiver on this one.
All right, very good. There you go, Big Cheesy. Now, Maestro, let me come to you because I'm looking at a number right now. And I think we've learned our lesson with the Rams that they don't have one receiver other than Cooper Kupp taking it 80 yards with his feet that can go the distance. So Matthew Stafford's number is 260.5, and it's juiced to the under at -127. What kind of a day do you think he's going to have today?
I think it'll be solid, but not spectacular. I would lean under. I mean, Kupp and Higbee on the injury report, they'll play. The angle that everyone is playing and why this line has come down from about 11 and a half all the way down to 10 is the new coach. Getting rid of Baker Mayfield has to be an upgrade. I mean, you can't play worse than he's played. Matt Rule, you can't really do worse than he's done. New coaching staff, our new scheme. We'll see if there's any juice. I'm curious to see about DJ Moore, who has looked disinterested at certain parts. Is he going to come out with the new quarterback and play the kind of ball that we all expected from him? But I would lean Carolina for sure.
Let me ask you, Sia, the other side is a guy that I probably have more experience with than anybody sitting here. I was the host for the XFL pregame show 2 years ago and talked about PJ Walker, who was dynamic in that league. But in this league, it's a different story. 211.5 is his number today. It's not even juiced that heavy to the under, to be honest with you. Your thoughts?
Interesting. I would probably take the under as well there. I just think this is going to be a slow pace for the Carolina Panthers. I think PJ is going to try to do some stuff outside of the pocket with his legs as well. It's just one of those games where you don't know what you're getting out of PJ Walker. So it's a stay away for me. With that said, I do like the Panthers +10 in this game. I don't think it's a terrible matchup for them. At the end of the day, the Rams are kind of struggling. The only hesitation I have is JC Horn is not playing in this game. That's a really big deal for the Panthers defense. But I think they have just enough with the upgrade of PJ Walker to keep this within 10 points.
All right, very good. Of course, that's a 4:05 Eastern game this afternoon. The other 4:05 Eastern game has a lot, and I mean a lot of interest as a brand. And I think nationally too. Seahawks have been a nice surprise. They've been fun to watch. Sometimes if they're not a good team, guys, at least make it fun to watch. And Gino has done that. Seahawks have done that. So the Cardinals are laying 2.5 on the road in Seattle. Total at 50.5. Here's where we stand as a brand. RJ, when it was 3, was on the Seahawks. Uncle Dave is on Kyler Murray over 36.5 pass attempts. Several of us are on Kyler Murray over 26.5 rush yards. We'll get to Maestro in a second. RJ has the Seahawks in a teaser that I've already played. And as of this morning, you can still get these numbers. Chiefs +8.5, Seahawks +8.5. I believe that's all that's not on the show. All 3 of you have plays in this game as well. So, Sia, let me start with you.
Well, let's go with the target monster for the Arizona Cardinals against a very, very bad. I could use the whole rest of the show to keep saying "very" when I'm referring to the bad defense of the Seattle Seahawks. Marquis Brown is not only a target monster, but he gets a really good situation. The last 4 games, 10 targets, 11 targets, 17 targets, 11 targets. What has he done with the yardage there? 78, 88, 140, and 68. So in 3 out of those 4, he's eclipsed what is the 69.5 receiving yard mark for this game. And I'll tell you, at 69.5, it was 69.5 at FanDuel. In some spots, it's 70.5. I will say I still like it at 70.5. I just think this is kind of a breakout game for Kyler Murray. And we know with DeAndre Hopkins still out, while he is going to flirt a little bit with Zach Ertz and Rondell Moore, I do think it's Marquis Brown's show. He is the best receiver on the field for Arizona by far. So I like the over in his yardage. It wouldn't shock me at all if he gets to 90-ish yards here.
I love it. This may hurt our chances at seeing. You guys know my favorite thing is the Cliff Kingsbury face when all of a sudden he goes for it on 4th and 12 from the 13. I mean, that type of stuff. All right, now, Alex, you love another offensive player in this game from a receiving standpoint. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like Marquis Brown's teammate Rondell Moore over in this game. Gave him out at over 42.5 receiving yards. I'll explain why I was so encouraged. I actually faded him last week, not on SportsLine, I might add. And I'll tell you why I've reversed my opinion. So he played a season high 63 snaps. He had his best game of the season, finished with 8 targets. He turned that into 7 receptions for 68 receiving yards. He ran a route on 91% of dropbacks against the Eagles. And the most important aspect of this is he played 83% of his snaps in the slot. AJ Green returned to the lineup. Prior to that week, without Green in the lineup, Moore had actually played outside receiver, did not go well, failed experiment. He looks a lot better playing out of the slot. So I was very, very encouraged with him. Also, Max Williams was cut this past week. He's a backup tight end. That led to fewer two tight end sets for the Cardinals. That is also good news for Rondell as well. Seahawks defense are 31st in passing DVOA. We've got a big total in this game, second highest total on this weekend slate. This is a great way to get a cheap piece, I might add, in a game that looks like a potential shootout. He's playing those very, very, very valuable slot, getting those very, very valuable slot reps and targets. So I love him in this spot. I played up to 44.5 receiving yards.
It does feel like this is the type of game where so many different over props can hit, which is exactly what we love because nobody likes rooting for an under. We'll play unders. We don't like rooting for an under. With that being said, though, Maestro, you love an over, but you also love a side. Talk to me.
I love the Cardinals against this terrible Seattle defense, and Kyler Murray should go off. I love him over 26.5 rushing yards. We saw Taysom Hill run for 112 against this same defense. Kyler Murray 4 for 42 last week. He can get this in one play. He's going to just love facing this defense after they have played some pretty tough defenses and played the Eagles last week. So they've played a tough slate of defenses, and now they get the absolute worst against the pass, absolute worst against the run, absolute worst in yards per play. Pretty much every single metric without Jamal Adams, just no playmakers on the Seattle defense. Should be an entertaining shootout that should go over the total, but I love the Cardinals.
But see, real quick, if this game script is what it is, why are we not looking at Geno Smith's numbers? Anything. He's been terrific through the first 5 weeks. Should we looking to play something with him?
So the thing about Geno Smith, he's been so efficient with sometimes limited completions and limited pass attempts. I agree with you. I also think Ken Walker could be pretty dynamic in this game, and you still could have a back and forth. You still could hit the over without Geno Smith hitting his over. To your point, I mean, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett should both have really good games in this game as well. So I think Geno, you could certainly take his over with respect to his passing yards, but I'm probably not taking, if anything, I'm leaning on the over in the game of 50.5.
All right, very good. I'm going to play the over as well. All right, gentlemen. As I look at the clock, it is 12:48 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a great day in the NFL, and there is one game, at 4:25 Eastern this afternoon. Why it's not the Sunday night game, I don't know, but I'm excited for that one too. We'll be here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for the Cowboys and the Eagles. But this could be a AFC championship game showdown early, week 6. Bills favored going into Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Total 54.5. Patrick Mahomes has lost all of this many times when he's a home underdog. Never happened. As a brand, RJ's on the Chiefs plus the 3. Maestro's on the Bills when it was 2.5. RJ has the Chiefs and the Seahawks in a teaser. And AB has the Bills team total. You're dead to me, AB. Over 28.5. So, Larry, explain yourself that you're on the side of the Bills today.
Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs can stop the Bills at all. I mean, there's no Fenton. He's not a great corner, but you've got 2 rookie corners and Snead back there. And Josh Allen did whatever he wanted last year, went into Arrowhead 38-20 in the regular season. And I know what happened in the playoff game, but this guy was not stopped, no turnovers, 8 touchdowns. They're going to be efficient. This game is for home field advantage for the Bills and the Chiefs for the playoffs. So, yeah, I just think Buffalo, when you don't have Tyreek Hill to go, stride for stride, I think it's going to show up here. Buffalo's much more explosive.
Interesting. Okay. Sia, let me come to you because you have a Bills prop in this game that it seems on paper, and this is why we do these shows, that it's very low. But explain why it's efficient, but you like the over.
Yeah, first of all, I'm with Larry on the Buffalo Bills, Coach. I hate to break that to you. I think the Bills are going to cover this spread, and I think it might be comfortably, to be honest with you. So before you kick me off of the show, I do like Devin Singletary over 20.5 receiving yards at -120. We know Singletary is sort of really integrated into the game, including the passing game when they are in competitive games. We saw that against Baltimore. We saw that against Miami when he had 47 yards and 78 yards receiving. Last week, it was not a competitive game. He didn't need to play much against Pittsburgh. That's why his stat line, I actually had the under in his rushing yards in that game from our prop show, and that, of course, hit. But he wasn't dynamic in that game because he didn't need to be. By the way, KC does send a lot of blitzes. They play a lot of zone. I think it's going to be a perfect opportunity for Devin Singletary to suck up some targets and get over this 20.5 receiving yards.
Alex, did you notice what Sia just said there? He goes, that of course hit. That of course hit. Of course, that little lonely, I'm not doing a showdown with you guys today. You can't suck me in. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I was hoping. That's why I did that whole thing.
No, I know. You're not sucking me in this time. Now, Alex, let me come to you because this has the potential, even though the guys don't think so, to be a big-time shootout. And when that happens, a lot of props come into play. What did the lab tell you on this marquee game today?
This is an awesome matchup, especially if we're looking at props. I'm looking to get as many cheap pieces as I can. Two spots I wanted to touch on really quickly. I like Isaiah McKenzie in this spot quite a bit. No more Jamison Crowder. They were splitting snaps, playing that very, very valuable slot role for this Bills team. Jamison Crowder's on injured reserve with a broken ankle. This should be the Isaiah McKenzie show. He should have a very good target share and snap count in this game. You can get his receiving line around 35.5 yards. I think he's going to easily cover that if he does, in fact, get to play all the slot or snaps out of the slot. So very much like Isaiah McKenzie, also like Sia's look with Devin Singletary. If the Chiefs decide to use some too high safety looks and try and keep everything in front of them, then it should be a lot of Singletary. It should be a lot of Isaiah McKenzie. Also wanted to touch on this really quickly. Just he needs to get mentioned. Stephon Diggs has been absolutely phenomenal this season. The Chiefs have given up a ton of production to opposing number one wide receivers. I believe they're 31st in DVOA against opposing number one wide receivers. So could be the Stephon Diggs show as well. With this type of game environment, there is potential for all these guys to go over. So I like to get as many cheap parts of it as possible. Those are three spots on Buffalo's side I like quite a bit.
You mean like the cheap shots that Maestro and Sia were taking at me as well?
Coach, you got to stand up for yourself and show down these guys.
Guys, I got a selfish question for prop stars. Very selfish. Yeah. Isaiah McKenzie over James Robinson or Alan Lazard in fantasy.
I like the upside that McKenzie offers. He doesn't have the floor that James Robinson and Lazard do, but I think this is a potential spot for him to have 80 yards, potentially a touchdown or two. So if you're potentially going to be trailing in the matchup, I'd rather play McKenzie. If you think you're going to be playing with a lead, then I'd look towards Robinson or Lazard.
Alex, his team is over. It doesn't matter.
Different league. Different league.
My bad. Different league.
If you need the upside, McKenzie.
All right. Well, you see our best bets on the screen. We like to give you like 5 minutes to get the last ones, and we're going to leave that up there. You know we end every single show asking my guys what's the number one most important thing they're looking forward to. Maybe it can help you today. Maybe it can help you in the future. Sia, please start us off.
I mean, obviously, it's this Kansas City Buffalo game. I want to see if Buffalo is as good as I think they are. I think they're the class of the NFL. I don't think it's very close. So it's really not a put down to the Kansas City Chiefs as much as it is just a raise to the Buffalo Bills. So I really am curious to see how this plays out. I really like the Bills -2.5. Hope I'm not walking into a trap here.
I would love to say that we can stop anybody, but we can't. We've never been able to. It doesn't matter who we put in a Chiefs uniform in the defensive backfield. They cannot stop anybody. So there's not much I can say. I just hope that we outscore the Bills today. Alex, talk to me.
Hard not to focus on this Bills-Chiefs game. I have been just blown away with Josh Allen all season long. Can he go into Arrowhead, play the Chiefs in one of the toughest road environments? I think it's his MVP award to lose if he's able to go in there, get a win, play as well as he's played all season. I think he's going to put some distance between him and your Patrick Mahomes, Coach.
How disrespectful. One of the toughest environment in football to play in.
Next to my Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia Eagles, home of Sunday Night Football tonight, Coach.
And Washington. Sorry.
Maestro, stop this train, please. Go.
If you follow sportsline.com, you will see that the Stoic One and I both jumped on the 49ers as soon as it got to 3.5 about 10, 15 minutes ago. We're playing against this big line move. We think this line has fallen too far for the 49ers. So we laid it. Let's get like 28-24 Niners.
Man, I'm pumped. I think this is as pumped as I've been for a week so far this year. A quick reminder, we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight, counting down to Sunday Night Football. As Alex just said, Cowboys and the Eagles from Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia right now is on absolute fire with the Phillies doing what they're doing, with everything that's going on. Tonight is going to be absolutely electric, and we are honored to be a part of it at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. In the meantime, you know what time it is. There's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these NFL tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, love them all. Seeing a job, prop stars, the maestro, Jake the Snake. No, AB on the ones and the twos today. I am the coach. We'll see you tonight. Enjoy the games. I'll see you at the pay window. There's only one brand you even need to worry about. It's right here, the Early Edge. Good luck.